Okay, so over the summer with NISCU, we're looking at heroes from the Bible. And this week, with the help of the puppets, I'm going to tell you the story of Gideon. But before we do that, I thought we'd have a look at my heart. Now, you might have seen this heart before, but it's my wooden heart. It's nice and solid, nothing special about it, and it's got a big hole through the middle, okay? And sometimes, like this bit of string, we can tie ourselves up into knots. So maybe we feel a bit scared, or maybe we're not sure that God can help us with our particular problem. And we start to worry, and just like our heart is now, we get all tied up into a big knotty mess. But what happens is, if we then ask God to help us, that when we ask him to help, he does, and he sets our heart free, just like our wooden heart was freed from the rope. Okay, so Rob and Susie are here to help me today. Hello, Rob, are you alright?
Hi, yes,
And Susie. Hi. So today we're going to be thinking and just learning a little bit about Gideon. I'm going to tell you a story from the Bible. Okay, have a listen and you can tell me what you think, okay? Here we go. Gideon, God whispered. Oh, Gideon, God called. I need your help, you brave and mighty man.
Who's this brave and mighty man?
Actually, he wasn't at all brave and mighty, was he, Penny?
No, you're right, Rob. When God called him, Gideon was nowhere to be found. As a matter of fact, he was hiding in a pit his father used for crushing grapes. You can't be talking to me, Gideon stammered. I'm no brave and mighty man. But God knew what he was doing. He always does.
What was Gideon so scared of?
Well, another country called Midian kept fighting against Gideon's country, called Israel.
Ooh, that would be scary.
Yes, Midian had very fierce soldiers. God had asked Gideon to go and fight them once before, but Gideon didn't want to.
Well, I don't blame him.
Gideon got a sheep's fleece, yes, just like that one, Penny, and said to God he would put the fleece out overnight. If the fleece was wet and the ground all around it was dry, then he would know that it was God talking to him.
I'm not surprised he wanted to be sure.
No, and God was kind and did as Gideon asked. In fact, he was super kind.
Super kind? Why do you say that?
Well, although God did as Gideon had asked, Gideon was still scared. So he told God he would put out the fleece again, and if it was dry in the morning and the ground around was wet, then he would know it was God speaking to him.
And did God do it?
He certainly did. Anyway, back to our story.
You're the man, all right, God said. The Midianites have my people surrounded, and I want you to round up an army to stop them. Gideon did what God told him, and to his surprise, over 30,000 men agreed to join him. There we go, there's my 30,000 men.
Over 30,000? That sounds a lot.
It is a lot. It's the whole of Workington.
Gideon, God whispered. Oh, Gideon, God called. You have far too many men. I want you to send some away. There are more Midianites than I can count, Gideon stammered. And surely I need all the help I can get. But God knows what he's doing. He always does. I am all the help you need, God said. So tell the men who are frightened to go home.
Would you be frightened, Rob? I know I would.
I certainly would be frightened, Susie. But if I knew for sure God had told me to do something, I think I'd have gone ahead and done it anyway.
And Gideon did what God told him. And when he'd finished, there was only 10,000 men. Gideon, God whispered. Oh, Gideon, God called. You still have too many men. So here's what I want you to do. Gideon listened to God's plan. Gideon stammered and shook, but then he led his men to the river and told them to have a drink. Some soldiers lapped up the water like dogs.
Do you mean like this?
That's right, Susie, and he sent them home. Others got down on their knees and scooped up the water with their hands.
That's what I do.
Those were the soldiers that Gideon kept, and when he'd finished, there were only 300 left. Gideon, God whispered. Oh, Gideon, God called. Now you are ready to fight the Midianites. But there are thousands of Midianites, Gideon stammered. And there's only 300 of us. How could we possibly win?
300 against thousands? That's like me and Susie playing football against the whole of the Premier League.
You can't win, God said. Not without my help. And that's what I want you to see. Now listen, here's my plan. Later that night, Gideon led his 300 men to the edge of the Midianite camp. In one hand, every soldier carried a trumpet. Have you got your trumpet, Rob? You're going to show everybody your trumpet? So it looked just like Rob's here. And in the other hand, they had an earthenware pot, just like this, with a flaming torch inside. There wasn't a sword in sight. At Gideon's signal, the soldiers blew their trumpets. They smashed their pots and they shouted, for the Lord and for Gideon!
For the Lord and Gideon!
The Midianite soldiers woke up startled.
I don't know about startled. I'd have been terrified.
It seemed as if there was noise and fire all around them. Dazed and confused, they stumbled about in the dark. They tumbled into each other and they rolled over each other, and it wasn't long before they were fighting with each other. When all the fighting had stopped, the Midianites left and they ran away, convinced that they had been defeated by some great, enormous army. But it was only Gideon and his 300 men and a God who knew what he was doing all along. Well, Susie and Rob, what did you think of that story?
Wow, that was amazing.
I liked your fighting. That was some very good fighting and trumpet blowing. Don't you think so?
We're good at that, Penny.
Aye.
Wasn't it amazing what Gideon did with God's help? Gideon was scared, but he trusted God and God helped him. God knows what he's doing all along.
Thanks, Penny.
Thank you.
Great story.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, we're going to have our song now, and it's a very catchy tune, and I think it's a song that Gideon and his men would have liked to have sung if it had been written then. It's called We Will Trust, and the chorus goes like this. We will trust and not be afraid. We will trust, mighty are you God. We will trust and not be afraid. You alone are God. So great words. Do join in the chorus when it comes up if you'd like to. and just enjoy this song that we're going to finish with. Bye!
You, oh Lord, our rock and our redeemer. You, oh Lord, our fortress so secure. You, oh Lord, our shield and our defender. We're held in the palm of your hand. And we will trust and not be afraid. We will say, mighty is our God. We will trust and not be afraid. We will say, you will